The format of this panel discussion will involve about 30 minutes of us on the panel sharing our ideas and thoughts on the real experiences that we have had in transforming our schools as the leaders. And in that, we hope we can bring out some interesting practical suggestions that perhaps the audience can dwell on. Now, I want to come back to Farhad, and if you allow me the liberty, I saw your background and a word came to my mind which I often use is a gate crasher into education, and I mean it in a really complimentary way. So you've done your bit in the corporate world, and like every middle class mother's dream is that their child should go to America, do well, go into the corporate world. Why did you choose to enter education? What prompted that choice? And I see that increasingly happening.
I think it is also, I mean, it's not just a personal choice that I have made. I think I've seen it more and more in people that desire to make a change. And a lot of it arises from the fact that, if we want to see the change, it's not going to just happen. I mean, I think each of us need to take some responsibility in making it happen. And I think, the choice to get into education was an easy one. Because it was an area that I did know nothing about. So it was like, if I am going to move into the social sector, I mean, why not go the whole hog and, do something that I'm absolutely unaware of. So as such, as a gate crasher, I would even say I'm probably one at this session. It's also it's been a very interesting time. I mean, it's been just about 2 years now, a lot of learning, and I would say I'm still in the process of learning. With Liz Mehta, I have actually interacted, briefly because she's been part of AKSI earlier, and we have actually engaged with her in some of the trainings that she's been doing. Excellent work. We have curriculum that we have patented, for the early childhood Sishupal Paddhati method, which is based on the high scope method, and we've kind of contextualized it and to the various environments in which we operate. So we have schools which are in metro areas like Bombay and Hyderabad, and we also have schools which are in rural remote areas such as Chitrawat, for example, where children from 9 villages around come and access that school. And I mean, very rightly it's been pointed out in terms of the differences in children, and yet the uniformity in what they are able to offer and what they bring to the table. And at the same time, in terms of teaching and teachers, there are challenges. I mean, there's no doubt about it. In terms of what Liz is trying to do in taking human beings and converting them into teachers. It's been a trend that AKSI has been working on, and we're trying to basically bring it into more contemporary times. Align it to what the expectations of the market are, try and establish changes that are based on not just the local Indian context, but more along international standards. So we basically been going through audits of our schools, and these are some of the things that we felt would basically enable us to give those children that would not have access or would not have that opportunity to access good quality education, give them that standard of education that really they deserve. And with that, it's a combination of giving them the right tools that they would need, and more importantly, I think amongst all the various answers that you got in what the child should be once they pass out of school, there was one thing that came to my mind, and I think that is something that it was because when I first addressed the staff and principals at the schools, the one thing that I found was a need for instigating a passion. And I think that's what is needed. I think, not only in the teachers, not only in the school leaderships, but also amongst the children. Get them to be passionate about whatever they do and catch them young. Do it when they are really young. Start from the early childhood, pre-primary. In fact, what we also have is, community programs where we start with the parents and children before they have actually joined school. So, in the villages, etc., that we operate, we have programs which cover, the parent and child between the ages of 0 to 3. So education really is not about, what happens only in the classroom, but it's also about involving the community around as well as engaging with the teachers, getting them to be more passionate about what they're doing, because really teaching is not a profession of choice, and really a desire for those who have gotten into the profession to do their best and contribute towards what the society would really want. So that's really where we are heading towards. We've been working on a strategy. We've been trying to look at what is our current situational analysis versus what the market changes are, and we all know what the challenges are with the various acts being put into place. I would say there is a lot of thought leadership out there, and what we want to do is create a strategy that allows us to convert that thought into action. So that's where we are placed today.
I have a slightly direct question to each one of you. Imagine I am going to take over as the principal of a school. I know that's a highly hypothetical situation. I guess I would not be allowed anywhere near the principal's post. What is the one piece of actionable advice you would give me? And it should be as actionable as, what can I do in the first 7 days or the first 7 weeks of taking charge as a leader? Very often I miss this kind of a practical, since I don't know if the audience is thirsting for something like this. We often get to hear many nice general things, but what is the one thing you would ask a new principal to do?
I think one thing is the ethical value system. Ensuring that the principals basically have that, because that leadership actually drills down. So it's kind of something that you can create as an environment itself. Creating an enabling environment is very essential, because when you look at it, all the aspects that we've spoken about, whether it is to do with communication, whether it is to do with listening skills, whether it is going and observing classroom practices, I think it's important that we create that enabling environment, which when we have that passion, and if that passion has to translate into something that is going to create that spark, then you need the right kind of environment for it. The third thing I would say is a certain empathy, and that is mainly with the community in which we work. So when we are in a society or in a community or in a place where it is not only about the teachers and the children, but about their parents as well, because they are equal partners and equal stakeholders in the school. So having a certain empathy and a relationship or a bond with them, having them participate in delivering some of the aspects of the requirements that are there at the school are essential to actually make this whole thing work, because it's not only about the principal, nor is it only about the students and teachers. It's about the entire ecosystem that has to work together.
In summary, what I'm hearing is, if I wanted to step into, or anyone else wanted to step into the shoes of really creating great institutions or reviving existing ones, you got to set an example of getting into the classroom. You got to listen, you got to empathize, and you got to question. I think those are very, very important skills a school leader should have. I'd now like to open it up for your questions to the panelists.
This is Biswajit Mukherjee from Ashoka Universal School, Nasik, the director of the schools. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have a small question from the panel here. How to make the thing easier, approachable, accessible to the right person? And which are the qualities and what are the qualities of the teachers of tomorrow?
Maybe Madeline and Farhad may want to comment from two different angles, one from an insider and one from someone who's looking at the system with a fresh pair of eyes.
I think the teacher of tomorrow really has to be somebody very creative and who will approach each child as an individual and be planning for the needs of an individual. I think education in tomorrow's world, which is really here today, is about personalizing education for every child. And so you need teachers who actually have the creativity to be able to tackle that, and the interest, the passion. I think I really go back to the passion in doing that. And you can cultivate passion among teachers by inspiring them to keep going with their commitment to education.
What I'd like to add actually in terms of creativity, I mean, absolutely dead on. I think that's something that all of us need. It's not just the teachers. In terms of, I think I would like to also correlate that to the earlier question in terms of, what about the Indian education system? And if you really look at it, I mean, I think what happens in a classroom and what, if you look at it, taking a step back at the overall education system, it's that level of complacency that sets in. And that's what we need to kind of come out of. So, when we talk about the teacher of tomorrow, we have to look at it, completely, differently, where we say that, here is what is an overall framework that basically inspires that level of creativity or that passion or that empathy, and then give that creativity a chance to flourish. That's really the combination that we are looking for in the teacher of tomorrow.
Yes, my name is Altaf Rahmani, and my question is, what is the role of technology in the school of tomorrow?
Before I came into this field, that was the thing that I thought that I would bring to the table. The IT background and how it can fit into the school system. And while it is possible to do in a lot of schools and bring in that level of technology, there is also that the other side of India, which is in the rural remote parts where there is no access to basic education, let alone technology, computers, IT infrastructure, etc. So what we really need to look at is, not just technology for the sake of, what is happening in the classroom, but what other ways can technology help the education scenario as a whole. So, you mentioned about, let's say, monitoring of students, in classes, and, you look at the data and you analyze the data. These are things that, technology would help with. But beyond that, what is it that, as educationists in this room that are interested in, enhancing the level of education of children in India, what is it that technology can do? If we ask that question, what really comes to mind is more in terms of, using technology to reach out to areas where there is no school or where the quality of the schools is not up to the mark. Using video conferencing facilities to create kind of virtual schools. And this is a concept that is already there in the West. And I think, what we need to do is, considering the kind of widespread nature of India and the lack of good quality education, and I think the question also was about access to quality education. I think this could be clearly an area which it could help in achieving.
That's a very important point, because very often I get a whole sense that we've gone the other extreme where we feel that technology may replace teachers. But what I'm hearing from the panel is, yes, technology is useful. It needs to be deployed in a thoughtful way. It needs to be an enabler and not a sine qua non to poor teaching which may exist.
I am Nani Rava. We are managing 3 schools in a semi-urban area in Andhra Pradesh. I happen to be the dean of the school. What we find in Andhra Pradesh, most of you must be knowing, the focus of the parents is on getting marks, getting through the competitive exam and going ahead. Whereas we are focusing on nurturing talent and grooming leaders in our school. It's becoming difficult to integrate these two. When the parents come and say, well, why don't you increase the study hours? And we try to bring in edu sports, edu comp and all that into the school to bring out the creativity of the children. We are finding it very difficult to satisfy the parents who are the customers. Can somebody enlighten me on how do you integrate these two, creativity in the child and getting highest marks in the competition?
I think what's coming out clearly is, that the examination system is moving more and more towards, and probably not moving, but it has been more and more, in terms of assessing your memory retention rather than, what subject knowledge you have gained. And I can speak for myself because, I was the one who studied the last minute and managed to get the marks. And I really don't know if I really deserved it. But, more importantly, I think, with this, the change that is coming in, where there is a grade-based system that is being adopted, there is a concept of, and these are things which are, I'm learning myself, so, you'll have to excuse me there. But, the ongoing evaluation and the tools that have been created to ensure that you are capturing what what the child is learning during the classes itself, through the course of the year, rather than waiting for the end of the year to, give one examination, get the results, and then say, here is a certificate and I have made it. But, I agree with the gentleman there in terms of what Andhra Pradesh has, because the South is a challenging place, with the IITs and, the kind of scores required to get in. So it is, a challenge that we are still grappling with. And I agree with you. I mean, I don't think it's an easy answer or a solution, while, we can sit here and debate it all day through or all night. But the answers are more in terms of, doing what you can do best with the children. I think there was an interesting video I saw very recently in terms of what a school in Ahmedabad is doing, and where that experience that the child is gaining, and how that is touching lives around. And that was actually what came out in the keynote address also, in terms of not making a living but making a life. And I think that's a very important message that we can carry with us, that how do we touch lives rather than just speak about a certificate at the end of the day, or some kind of an achievement or a result. And as you rightly pointed out, it is a whole combination of things that a student is achieving, not just the results in a particular subject, but including all the co-curricular activities that comprise that human being.
My name is Colonel Shekhar, retired from the army. I am heading Atul Vidyalaya. Right. The point to the panelists are, the question Mrs. Mehta said is, respect the parent, he or she is intelligent. The majority of the problems we all face is not from the first generation parent. It is mostly from the Honda City parent. This may clearly be understood. We have doctors, engineers, etc. coming up and saying, why has my child got 1/4 of 1/3, pi/3 marks lesser? How the hell it can happen? We are all talking great philosophy here. Come down to Mother Earth, what the hell is happening down there? We have schools, the ISRO school, the Kendriya Vidyalaya, the principal in Andhra Pradesh, that's the one where we have our rockets going off. The principal's en masse, the parents' en masse passed a resolution, stop regular classes, only have coaching classes from 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. And this is a fact which we have. Kendriya Vidyalaya and the trustees have approved it. Under such circumstances, when we are thinking about character, values, and of course, from Yudhishthir downwards, how can we do it on ground? Thank you.
Farhad, I'd like you to take this question. And I'm putting Farhad in a spot, but I think in a conversation we had recently, you said that there is a lot of good talk about education, but it does not necessarily translate to something which actually works on the ground. Why is that so?
There are a number of reasons, and I touched upon passion being one of them. But specifically to come to his point, I think what is very important, and I think thank you for arranging this kind of a conference, because it's important to have such set of people over here who have that knowledge, have that understanding, are able to make that change. Maybe not individually, but through a collaborative method. And I think that is, the key over here is, how do we collaborate? This is great to have this conference. Are we going to go back after this and say, that's it, we're done, and come back again the next year and say, okay, what is the school of tomorrow for tomorrow? And that could just go on. I mean, if it is all talk, and if it is all about speaking your mind, that's fine. I think we can all do that, and we love doing that. But it's beyond that, and I think it's time for us to really take that ownership and convert that thought into action. And I think it's not so simple. It's not. I mean, I know I'm saying it over and over again, but it's not so simple. And we have to go through an exercise, and there were words used like reflection, and I think we need to reflect on what it is that is happening in the world around us, in the Indian education system itself. What is with the right to education, and with a whole lot of, I mean, somebody spoke about school fees. I mean, we face all of these challenges, but does that mean that we stand over here and complain about all the things, or we look at those as opportunities to see how can we bring about that change? So when it says that we need to ensure that 25% of the children need to come from those those that are underprivileged and that those that have the are not able to afford that quality of education. And we say, what is this and where is that going to happen and how is it going to happen? And rather, if we say that, here is how we can go about doing it, and this is what we can do together to make that happen. And if we get together collectively, I think there are enough minds in this room to be able to come up and create policies, advocacy on what it is, the changes that are required. Go with those kind of proposals to the government, because the government is not going to come up with these. As we know, as came out quite clearly even in the address, it is not something that is a top-down approach over here. While there were amazing ideas that came out, those ideas to be implemented, you convert from a rank-based and a score-based system into a grade-based system. It's not something that is so easy. You're not going to get acceptance into the IITs with that kind of a method. So how do we take that and how do we translate that into what we are doing in our classroom?
But I think it's a great point that we need to collaborate. I don't think we are doing enough. I think we'll all go out. We need to go out with one voice. Thank you very much, panelists and the audience, for making this a very, very informative and exciting session. I want a round of applause for the panelists.